In the beginning, as was said of old, the earth was without form and void. There was no life anywhere under the canopy of hot vapors that shrouded our globe. Ages passed, millions of years. Then in due time, rivers and seas appeared on the face of the earth, and presently the waters teemed with living things. These primitive creatures spawned in the Paleozoic slime. Life has come down to us through the egg. One after another, during the course of the ages, various forms of life were evolved. The early fishes, first of all living things to lay eggs on our earth. The eels, mysterious creatures that swim thousands of miles each year to lay their eggs in the Sargasso Sea. The amphibians, these and their kindred, part-time land dwellers that return to water each spring to breed. And in due time, creatures more or less independent of the water, producing eggs with shells. Everybody is familiar with the sort of eggs laid by the swan and other birds. Finally, there evolved what scientists call the intrauterine form of gestation, most highly developed in the mammals such as this cougar. In this class of animals, the development of the egg takes place wholly in the dark confines of the mother's womb. It is this mysterious prologue to life that we shall attempt to portray in this film, the story of the adventures of the mammalian egg, out of which have come all the higher animals, including mankind. All the armies that have marched the earth and drenched its soil with their blood, these boys of our passing day, and all their comrades in arms who are dust, the hordes of Genghis Khan, the legions of the Caesars, the bowmen of Assyria, all the children of today and of unnumbered yesterdays, all the poets, all the tyrants, all the philosophers, and all the fools, all of mankind who have lived and labored on this planet since the beginning, all have come from this microscopic egg, many, many times smaller than a mustard seed. The story of this egg and of the marvelous processes through which the spark of life is engendered in the once mysterious darkness of the ovary, the oviduct, and the womb is one of absorbing interest and exquisite beauty. Let us look into the laboratory where these scientists are examining the ovaries, oviduct, and uterus of a typical mammal, the rabbit. The processes here described are the same for all mammals, even man. Here we see the ovary and its follicles. These small dark bodies on the ovary are the follicles. The egg passes down this long thin tube, the oviduct, and at about 72 hours after mating passes into this larger tube, uterine horn, the other uterine horn. This veil-like structure at the end of the oviduct covers the ovary at about the time of ovulation so that the egg will not be lost. Those dark spots are the follicles, the pathway of the egg. This diagram shows a typical mammalian reproductive tract. The uterus is represented here as a two-horned organ, as in the rabbit and in the farm animals. Two ovaries, a pair of oviducts, and two uterine horns. In this picture, the uterus is shown cut open. It is here that the eggs are finally deposited. This illustrates the escape of the egg from the ovary. A current caused by the beating cilia of the veil-like structure at the end of the oviduct helps to direct the egg into the mouth of the oviduct. About the time of ovulation, that is, sometime during the mating period, these follicles will swell large enough to break, and then the egg escapes. The egg rests here for a short time and may be met at the mouth of the oviduct by the male elements, the spermatozoa. In many mammals, such as the cow, the horse, the monkey, and man, only one egg is, except in the occasional case of twins when there are two eggs. So it is in the case of the sheep or any other animal that bears twins. Other animals have several young at each birth. Some dogs and most rabbits will have 5, 6, even up to 10 young in the litter. But for each puppy or baby rabbit in the litter, there must have been a separate egg. Here we see the actual process of ovulation. Note the follicle in the center. There, the egg is out. Of course, we cannot actually see the egg here, for it is microscopic. Another follicle. The pressure increases until it becomes too great, and another egg is discharged. In the shedding of the egg by this third, rather dark-looking follicle, note how much blood may be lost during ovulation. Here we have still another. It is not easy to locate the tiny eggs thus discharged into the oviduct, but scientists have found that by washing out the rabbit oviduct some 24 hours after ovulation, the eggs may be found. By taking a small syringe with wet solution and flushing out the oviducts, the eggs can be washed out into a watch glass. These mammalian eggs are so very tiny that 3 million of them will hardly fill a thimble, and thus we must search for them with the microscope. Under the microscope, they can be picked up with a suitable pipette and transferred to a small slide, where we can observe the early divisions of the mammalian egg. A cover glass is placed over the chamber so that the egg will not be injured. Yes, this is the rabbit egg, a true prototype of all mammalian eggs, just like the egg of the cow, the horse, the monkey, and the human being. But before the egg can develop, it must be fertilized, and this is the important contribution of the male of the species. The spermatozoa, shed by the male during mating, appear like tiny little fish, or shall we say tadpoles, very active, squirming fellows. Notice the large head, the lashing whip-like tail, and the streamline effect in general. These organisms are built for speed. Millions of these spermatozoa are deposited in the genital tract of the female. They have a long journey to make up the uterine cavity to meet the egg and fulfill their destiny. Truly, this is a race for the swift. Millions start the journey, but comparatively few arrive at the mouth of the oviduct where the egg is waiting, and only one reaches the goal. Here is a live rabbit egg under attack by spermatozoa. Watch the sector on the egg between the positions of 5 and 6 o'clock, where several spermatozoa may be seen entering. Some miss the egg entirely. Some expire almost at the end of the trail. But if the egg is to develop into an embryo, one spermatozoon must penetrate the outer layer and fertilize the egg, otherwise the egg dies. This diagram shows more clearly the details of this all-important process of fertilization. Note the dark circle near the center of the egg. This is the female pronucleus, embodying all the characteristics that the mother can transmit to the baby. One and only one spermatozoon enters the egg. The head of this individual sperm embodies all the characteristics the father can transmit to the baby. After its entrance, it slowly swells in size, and both pronuclei, male and female, move to a common meeting point inside the egg and merge. Then fertilization is complete, and the egg is started on its way to become an embryo. This is a living rabbit egg about to make its first division. Watch closely. The granules start to dance, and there, the egg has divided. 2 cells now instead of 1, both of about equal size. This first division takes place about 24 hours after mating, and after the first division, the egg appears to rest in the 2-cell stage for 3 or 4 hours. Here is the same egg at 28 hours. You will notice that again the granules in these 2 cells will appear to become greatly agitated just before division takes place. This is characteristic of most eggs. There, 1 cell has divided, and now the other cell divides. 4 cells, and then another rest period when little seems to happen. Watch the cell at the lower right-hand corner. It will be the first to divide again. The same egg a few hours later. Now about 8 cells occupy the stage. Not much rest for these young cells from now on. That large cell in the lower right-hand corner was very slow to divide, hours behind its fellows. At about the 48th hour, real activity begins. Division goes on so rapidly that soon the whole cavity is alive with cells, actively dividing and subdividing. Now, after 72 hours, the egg has passed the oviduct into the uterus. The cavity is completely filled with cells, and the egg begins to grow. Note how the egg gets larger and then suddenly shrinks. It is absorbing water from the mother's womb, and when it has had its fill, it seems to throw off what it does not need. Soon, the egg grows so large that it nearly bursts its membrane. Then it is about ready to mold itself in the wall of the mother's womb, where it becomes almost a part of the mother. Thus, we have seen in a very few minutes the first 4 days of a rabbit's life. All mammalian life begins in just this fashion. First, a tiny 1-celled egg that develops into a many-celled egg, and then buries itself in the womb, where the egg develops a blood supply of its own and takes its nourishment from the mother's blood until the embryo is ready to be born. 22 days have passed, and now the young rabbits are well on their way to be born. Let's look into the mother rabbit's womb. Slowly and carefully, we remove for inspection the now greatly enlarged uterus. Now the uterus is out and can be inspected. Count the young embryo bunny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 babies, quite a family. By performing a cesarean section, we can show you a 22-day-old rabbit. Here is the baby rabbit, attached by its umbilical cord to the placenta, that dark mass above the embryo. It is through this placenta that all mammalian embryos, rabbits, kittens, puppies, calves, and human babies get their food from the mothers while developing an embryo in the womb. And so we have proof of the truth that William Harvey surmised and proclaimed to a doubting world nearly 3 centuries ago. All animals, even those that bring forth their young alive, and even man himself, come from the egg. Out of the past, his words come as a warrant and inspiration for all who resolutely seek the truth.